So, hi guys, my name is Shelley Edwards. I am a mentor here at PAC, and I'm here today to guide you through this presentation that Teepa does on how to use music when you're not a musician or a music therapist. I was one of the participants in this video, so you will see me every once in a while. And I'll be popping in throughout the session here to give you some added guidance and so on. So, enjoy the video.
All right, so what we're going to do today is talk about how to use music when you are not a musician and you're not a music therapist. Both those people sort of know how to use music in very unique ways and very special ways, and they are to be commended and celebrated, and yay. But for those of us who aren't any of those people, it's not that music shouldn't be used. As a matter of fact, I use it a lot. And I use it for a lot of different things. And I think what happens is we get in a rut and we think of a music as a one note, ding, 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 when it should be ding, 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 da, dum. So in other words, there's lots of things to do with music. So one of my first questions of folks is when you're not a music therapist and you're not a musician, we're going to start with this one. I want you to go back to childhood. So this is a thinking question and a remembering question. I want you to go back when you were young, probably younger than you actually remember most things, but there would be songs that you might remember. So I'm going to ask you to remember 5 songs and each of these categories, because it's interesting how when we're very young, music is core to learning a lot of things. So I want you to see if you can come up with, I'm going to give you a couple minutes, songs from childhood that made you move. And I'll give you an example of one of what I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be whole body movement. So in other words, Itsy Bitsy Spider works on moving bilaterally. So it's teaching you bilateral upper body movement. And there's a story that goes with it, but it makes you move. And then we have songs that get you to count. So they have numbers in them. So different songs about counting. And there's a whole, there's a variety of them. But see if you can come up with a few, not necessarily 5, but at least a couple songs about counting from childhood. Songs that taught you something, like it taught you how to do something, or it taught you something about something, or it taught you something. Like when you look back on it, oh yeah. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's how most of us learn the alphabet, by sound, not by letters. And elemental P was a single letter. It was an elemental P. It was just one thing until later. But it taught us something. So singing music can teach us something. And then another category is those songs made you laugh. What songs when you were a kid made you laugh? What were the funny ones that would make you laugh? And which ones made you feel safe? Were there songs that made you feel safe? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes and then we're going to sort of talk out about this one. So I'll stop sharing so we can see one another. So thinking about the different songs of childhood. Let's start with things that made you move. What songs make you move? Anybody have some? You can.
Pokey.
Okey pokey. So that one actually has 2 purposes, because what else did it do, Corey?
Your left hand and your right hand.
Oh, so it's the thing that's teaching you to associate left and, no, that was wrong. Left and right, which obviously
some of us,
like many songs, did not help. But when you don't have that brain capacity, you can teach me the songs all you want, and I have to watch somebody to see which hand to move out. I have no idea which one you guys are moving. I'm just following your lead because I can't do left and right. I have other skills. That is never going to be one of them at the age. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. We've tried lots of things. Ain't going to come together. Okay, so other songs that made you move. Okay, what else has anybody got?
I said the chicken dance.
Oh, the chicken dance song. Did you learn that as a little kid?
I did, going dancing at weddings and stuff.
Really? Oh my heavens, I am old. Oh, that is so sad. I just realized how old I am because that is not a child song.
I know, but it's one I remember.
That's not okay. Shelley, you're not that young. That I thought that was Oh dear. Okay. Well, now that was a sad song. That was a song that made me sad because that is not a childhood song. I was a grown-up when I learned that song. All right. Oh man, chicken song. All right, fine. The chicken dance song. I bet you had, did you learn the Macarena too when you were a kid?
No, I was a high schooler in college.
Okay, good. Oh, I feel better. All right. Well, at least you were older when you did that one. Okay. All right. What else have we got? That make you move, songs that made you move as a kid.
I had Archie Archie or Sugar Sugar from Archie.
Oh yeah, sugar, sugar, do 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 do, honey,
It was
honey.
72 or something. 1972.
Yeah, I wasn't a kid then either. All right, all right. Yep, you guys are naming them. Okay, what else? What else you got from childhood that makes you move? Here was mine from 3rd grade because my mom taught, my mother was a phys ed teacher and she's taught everybody in the class. We all learned a polka because my mother came into school and taught everybody to polka. So yes, in 3rd grade, we got to polka. And I still know how, so we're clear, okay?
What about heads, shoulders, knees, and toes?
Oh, there you go. That's a good moving song. And it also teaches. So cool. Yeah. What else you got?
I was thinking about the one with the monkeys jumping on the bed.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, almost every little kid who hears that song wants to do what? It's like saying, don't jump on the bed. One little, and then it like, yeah, me, I'll be the last monkey. It'll be okay. All good. So there are lots of songs of childhood that make you want to move around. One was, I'm going to Kentucky, I'm going to the fair to see a senorita with flowers in her hair. And it was a shaking song, and yeah, that I can do that. There wasn't a left or a right. I like that one a lot better. Okay. Any other songs that get you to move from kids, from childhood?
The Mexican hat dance.
Oh yeah. Da, 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 da. Did you have to learn that in school?
We did kindergarten.
Yep, for the little presentations. Yep, yep. Those are good ones. All right, so those are songs that make you move. How about songs that that taught you something? Anybody else have anything else to learn with songs that you remember?
Old MacDonald.
Oh, Old MacDonald. Yeah, that's a great example of one that associates a sound with an animal with a sound. So that's a great one. Mine was L-O-L-L-I-P-O-P spells. Who knows? You don't know? What does it spell? Lollipop. That's the only decent kind of candy. The guy that made it must have been a dandy. L-O-L-L-I-P-O-P-U-C. It's a lick on a stick, guaranteed to make you sick. Lollipop for me.
There's a bubblegum version as well.
There's bubblegum, and then there's castor oil.
Oh.
And then the last verse that I learned was Davenport, which is where you hug and you squeeze and, oh, Johnny, please, which is sort of the adult version, I guess. I don't know. But that's a sort of a spelling to word and word play, which was also when it makes you laugh, because that's sort of that funny little bit. What else did people learn from music when they were kids, little kids? Carolyn?
Do-a-deer. Do-re-mi.
Oh, yeah, do-re-mi. Yeah, the sound of music and the do-re-mi. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anybody have something else?
Yeah, I have conjunction junction and
oh, there you go.
Station rock. All of those things are still in my
Yeah,
head.
all my kids learned those. Yeah, that's good. That was Saturday morning. Yes, that was on. What else?
My name is Rachel Folkers. This is my address.
Yes, so many schools taught children to give full out information in song voice because kids could sing better than they can tell things. So they did it with rhythm and they got kids to do that. You're right, absolutely. You even remember that address from childhood. Mine was 609 Hess Street, 609 Hess Street, Morgantown, West Virginia. And then I could do my number, but I think I've forgotten that, my phone number. I think that one's gone. So any other childhood songs?
I seem to remember learning the books of the Bible with a song, but it's not one that stuck.
Well, it's those words in the Bible books. They're a little difficult to wrap in there, yeah? Yeah, how about head bone's connected to the neck bone's connected to the, yeah, so there's lots of rhythm, lots of learning. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. In other words, be curious. All right, so you get the drift. So when we look at kids and how kids learn, there's a whole lot of music going on because it turns out that learning childhood brains, you can send a lot more in if you use music, and they can hold on to a lot more because they'll catch the rhythm if they don't get the content the first couple times, and the rhythm draws them back. And so the rhythm will allow you to get them to repeat until they get it. So they're actually growing synaptic connections, starting with rhythm and moving to content. And I want to say that again. We start with rhythm and move to content, because when people start to develop dementia, it seems like we forget this and we keep trying to give them content, instead of remembering that rhythm always comes first. And when you hook somebody into rhythm, and they're hooked into rhythm, and it frustrates us because they won't quit asking the same question. And yet if you listen to the question, it's done with the same rhythm. So one of the things that's happening is they're hooking into rhythm. They've got the rhythm. So wonder what would happen if sometimes instead of answering with just a phrase, we offer back some rhythm with the phrase. And I do believe that's one of the reasons I can be more effective, is because if Corey says, Corey, say one of the famous phrases people say when they aren't happy and they need something. Give me something.
Hey, you, I need help.
You're needing some help. You want some help. You need some help. Yeah, you want some help. Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
It works every time because I give you the rhythm back and I keep that same energy. And then when I go, hey, Corey, it's like, yeah, because I changed the musical rhythm. And so even though I'm not a music therapist, I learned how to use rhythm because it's one of our earliest learning tools. And when people are developing dementia, everybody thinks they can't learn something new. And it's like, oh yeah, they can if we use the old formula.
So hi, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the first few minutes of this presentation. And I just wanted to come in and kind of recap a few things about it. So before we want to use music to assist with care, we need to understand how we all used music in our past. That's what we were talking about in this first segment, right? About what music meant to us as a child. And some things to remember, that people with dementia tend to pick up on the rhythm rather than the content, much like a young child does. And rhythm is that one of those earliest learning tools that we learn. And so people living with dementia can learn things with that old formula. I'll be back in a little bit.
So what we want to go back to is how music was helpful before, what music did for us, even in childhood, because that laundry list, I only got halfway through it, of songs of childhood that gave us this stuff. So I want to go back and show you what I was asking you, because I think sometimes we underestimate the power of this thing called music. So it made you move, it made you count, it taught you something, it made you laugh, and then finally it made you feel safe. So I'm curious about, for those of you who are here, what made you feel safe? What kind of music songs made you feel safe? What are some of those songs from childhood?
Rockabye Baby.
Rockabye Baby, because, and it's da 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 da. And if you actually listen to the words, it's a little scary. But if you do the rhythm, it's kind of cool, but the Rockabye Baby is actually like not one of the best songs for calming people. When the bow breaks, the baby will fall. It's like, that crap will happen. But we don't emphasize that. It's interesting how the rhythm is calming, and that overrides the words. What about other songs? Who else knows songs that are calming? Day is done, gone the sun, from the lake, from the hills, from the sky, all is well, safely rest, God is nigh. Which I've, all through Girl Scouts, that's one of those end of the night. Anybody else have other songs of comfort and calming?
All music was calming to me growing up.
Okay.
Because I think when there was music playing, people were generally happy in my house.
Ah,
and
okay.
So if I was upset, I would go turn music on because it shifted the mood for everybody.
Okay, so you actually use music as the shifter. Even as a kid, you would figure out if there was music, people were in a better place.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else have? How about, go ahead.
Song at night before we went to bed. And
You would sing at night.
We sing the same one every night. So when I hear that song, there's kind of, yes.
Bedtime. Yeah, so it often is used to establish a ritual or routine. So one of the songs that I used and that I know my mom used, because that's where I got it, was "Sleep, my child, and peace attend thee all through the night." So it was that do, 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 do. And so often songs that calm with children are rocking or rhythm songs that are a back and forth rhythm. Because children, when you do a rhythm song or a rocking sort of song, do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. So it's a repetition. And so when you give the same pattern over and over, the brain starts to come down and relax into more of a state for going inside versus outside. So we're looking for things that might actually start fairly high and gradually shift down in gear. So you can change the rhythm, the intensity, and the frequency of the song and bring it down to add calming to the pattern. Okay, so that's childhood. So let's go on though, and let's move forward because the music comes in handy yet again. So let's go to adolescence. So songs that made you move in adolescence, because that gets a little different then. There's actually a higher level of movement there. So think about songs that when you were a teenager, and what was the moving you would do with that kind of music, got you to sing along. So these are music songs that made you sing with that group or that individual that was singing. Maybe again, it taught you something, but the something it taught you was more of an emotional thing or a prefrontal thing or there's a story to the song. And so you learned something from listening to that song brought something home. It made you laugh. In other words, there's something about the song that was a chuckle or it was a laugh or it had this funny piece to it. It made you safe, or if you were sad, it would let you let go of that emotion and allow you to release the emotion in what was a safer way. So you would feel that song and you felt comfortable crying because the song was the song. It just made you cry, and it was an okay thing to do, to cry to a song. Crying about other things might have been more difficult, but crying about a song. So let's go and let's talk and see if anybody remembers any of those. And the reason I'm going through this is the kind of group you can run with people who are diamonds or, fairly high functioning. We can do this very thing. And then I'll talk about how we can vary this for people who might be a little more challenged with their dementia. So what do you got? Anybody have a song of adolescence?
So for me, I grew up in church, so I think of all the Sunday school songs that I learned in Sunday school. I can't recall them right this second, but there was one about Daniel in the lion's den and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and all those songs that taught about the Bible.
So that's interesting, AJ. So what you're remembering is the content of the songs, although you can't think of the rhythm of the song now. By adolescence, what the songs were able to do. And from now looking back, you remember the content, even if you can't remember the rhythm. So what could I do is, I'm not a music therapist, I'm not a musician. So what we could do with a group is, does anybody remember a song about Daniel in the lion's den? Anybody got that one? Daniel. I sort of vaguely remember, but I can't remember the rhythm of the tune. I feel like there's one there, and it's real close. It may come before the end of the session. If so, AG, I'll let you know. The Meshach, Abednego. I remember there's a rhythm to that one too. Gosh, boy, you picked tough ones, AJ.
Well, this would be where Alexa would be helpful.
Oh, yes. Alexa always comes in handy for those things. Yes, Google and Alexa, those are the people to go ask that stuff, because then they'll pull something up and then you can use it. And that's not a bad thing. Oh, Amazing Grace, for sure. Yep. What else? What else do we have teenage years?
The first thing that came to my head or my mind was Hair.
I got Hair that.
Hair, shine and scream. I mean, I danced to that all the time. So
okay,
acting that out.
Cool. So for me, it was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock rock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock rock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Yeah, now I can tell that Pierre is going, oh, that's an oldie song. I see you. Yeah, payback is the devil. Just wait, someday your children will do it to you. So, but that was a song, Twist and Shout. Those were a lot of the songs of my adolescence. And so those were the ones, the twisting, but also square dancing. We did Virginia Reel, so a lot of adolescent songs for me were dancing songs. And I was always crappy at left and right, but I enjoyed dancing, but there were iffy things. Carolyn, what you got? You were coming up with something.
Yeah, I remember a song we used to dance to in my adolescent years, the Locomotion. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, the Locomotion. Yeah, how about the Limbo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Limbo too. Was never very good at that, but
yeah.
Right.
So that's a sing-along song. What else do folks have?
So
YMCA. Oh my heavens, yes. YMCA. Oh, I can't do that either, which is great. It's a good thing I have a day job. People living with dementia don't mind being with me though, because it all works out. So what other songs are you thinking about for adolescence? What about
Teepa, I'm a tad bit younger than you, but adolescence for me, there was a lot of Bon Jovi and Poison and Aerosmith. Like those hair bands of the 80s were popular with the kids, so we heard them all the time. And I think they evoke emotions because there are things like junior high dances when, that one person you really wanted to dance with either didn't look at you or actually came over and talked to you. But there's music associated with all that.
There's music associated with many social events for adolescents. So there was faith-based, but there was also social engagement. So we would get together and there'd be music. And somewhere between the adult, the preteens, the teens is also when you have sleepovers. The girls would get together and have a sleepover, and there was always music involved. I don't know what guys did because we weren't guys. So we didn't have that history of being with the guys. But there were lots of music associated. And so one that I remember is Nat King Cole coming out with It's a Wonderful, Wonderful World. And, you know, that one is always one that makes me cry. Even to this day, when you put that one on, it's just that one that will catch me. And it's just like, yeah, that's a really great song. And that came out in Adolescence. One that also was, another one was Mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy, a kit'll eat ivy too, wouldn't you? Oh, mares eat oats. And it was a clever sort of play. And so it was, that one always makes me laugh because it's that kind of high beat and has that rhythm pattern to it. That's kind of neat. So I'm going to pause because what I wanted to talk about and have you guys think about is, so how did we use music for that? How do we use music for this one, the one before that, for childhood, and this one? What value would that have? And we could do the same thing for adulthood. We don't have to limit it to childhood. What are we getting people to do? What's the value of this kind of session? And we might actually have some of them recorded. If we had them recorded ahead of time, we could play a little snippet and then do that. What are we doing for people who are fairly early in dementia? What's the value of the music? What happened in this group?
It brought lots of smiles to our faces.
So we had lots of positive emotion. Were people doing any going through your hippocampal areas? And even if you weren't able to come up with one on your own, when somebody else gave one, did it get you going, oh, yeah. And so what we did is multifold. Number one, we got you to use the memory banks you could find. If you could find them and you could share them, that worked. Now, did I have to know all your songs? No, because if we didn't, it was that moment of, and as Carolyn said, this is where if you have access to the internet, if you have access to Lexis type technology, or you can even type it in, there's all kinds of resources now out there that help you find the thing. You can find the lyrics, but you can also find the tune and listen to a little bit of the tune that can help people put their heads around that song. What else happened for people when you were thinking about this music and talking about it?
Can I just lay this out here? All my favorite music, for those who may be interested, can be found on my Spotify. So when planning, go to Spotify, please.
Okay, so Lauren, who's actually living with dementia, says yes, her music is all recorded on Spotify. So it would be a really good thing then if we were going to run this group and Lauren was part of the group, to go ahead and ask her to bring some, to let me know where that Spotify is, or find out where her Spotify is, so that we can pull some of those songs up, because then even without words, she could share out one of a few of her favorites, and she doesn't have to know them, because we know them, because they're on her playlist. So creating playlists.
I can make that list available to you this evening. Okay.
That is great to know. So we will have plenty to listen to as we drive over to the big city of Sacramento this evening. So what else did this session allow people to do? If they had capacity, nobody was demanded to do it. Did anybody besides me feel a desire to move with some of the songs? So all it would take is, okay, well, let's try it. So let's see. Okay, try this one. Da, 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 da. And as soon as I stop singing, what invariably happens when I do that in a conference, about 15 people are actively singing out loud and another 20 are singing softly. And so pretty soon everybody in the conference takes it up and starts singing it. So what we have is a sing-along. So I don't have to be like on top of it. I just have to get it started, because when you start with movement and people know it, da, 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 what they'll start doing is producing voice to go with the rhythm. So when we go back to songs of childhood particularly, those songs are so deeply and well embedded in our brains that as we do that, we can get people to start to form a group. So we are more of a group now than we were before we started. So there's a sense of community. So one of the cool things about music and shared music is that it gives you a sense of community, and it also gives you a sense of identity. And the thing about adolescence is we're discovering who we are. And so our genres start to vary a little bit more than they did when we were kids. When we were little kids, we learned many of the same kind of songs unless we came from a totally different culture. If we came from a similar culture, we have very similar childhood songs because kids are all learning A, B, C, D. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, brother? So what is different? Bruder, Jochab, Bruder, Jochab, schlafen Sie, or, and you could do it in, I don't know how many languages, but a whole bunch. So what it teaches you there is other languages, because once you learn the rhythm in the song, then they give you different languages, so you can sort of start to get the rhythm of different languages. So we could use that kind of thing. So we could also do, okay, we're looking for songs that have months of the year in them. So we're looking for any song that has a month of the year. So let's go over the months of the year. We have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So we're looking for any songs that have a month in them. Anywhere in them, the month.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, September.
Ah, okay. So there we go. We have that one. What's another one? So there's one.
April showers may come your way.
No, April showers may come your way. They bring May flowers. So we have April and May. Yep, April showers.
There's that song, April She Will Come, with Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay, Simon and Garfunkel. Yep, cool.
Shine on Harvest Moon. That's got a fun part.
Shine on harvest moon, up in the sky. I ain't had no loving since January, February, June, or July. That's a long time when you think. Long time nobody liking you. Okay, what else we got?
April in Paris.
April in Paris. Mm-hmm. How about who?
Walking in a Winter Wonderland.
Walking in a Winter Wonderland. Good. Mm-hmm. What else you got? Oh, you went sort of quiet there. What else?
The Frankie Valli in December something.
December.
Oh, what a night.
Oh, what a night. Oh, wow, we're getting ages in here. What else? What other months? Anybody have anything for June? We had the June or July. We had that one. Anybody else have another month you can think of?
I can't think of the song, but there's a song from Seven Brides for Seven Brothers about June brides.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. There is, Shelley. I don't
get it all out.
I know. Yeah, you're right. There's also a Pat Boone one from State Fair, which is April love is for the very young. Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I'm older. So anyway, we can.
Oh, my love's like a red, red rose.
Oh, good job, Rachel. Yeah, good work. Did you use Google on that, or did you remember it? Did you actually?
No,
wow, impressive. Ah, good job. So what we have is we could pick any specific topic, anything, a weather. We could do weather related words. We could do animals that are in songs. We could do, so what you do is you pick a topic and then you start with a few, throw a few out and see what people are able to do. And if people are stuck, what you can do is play a little portion of the song. And what we're doing is we're using hippocampus, which is the memory storage unit that people can't get into. There's a lot in there. It's the wiring that gets broken. So by having it work this way, we're working backward from what people do have. And then when we trigger something, what about, and then if you do a bit of a song, then sometimes that helps people trigger on into the next piece. So if I had plenty of prep time, what I would have done is come up with about 5 songs about months or about weather or about animals. You could pick any topic, fruits, vegetables, because people have written songs about just about everything, things you do around the house. What do you do around the house? This is the way we wash our clothes, wash our clothes, wash our clothes.
So hi, I'm back. Hope, again, you've been enjoying this session so far. I know I had a really good time when I was talking about this particular section where we were talking about music of our adolescence. It brought back so many memories. So wondering if that's doing it for you as well. But the main points that we're talking about in this section is the fact that music helps you when you're doing music or doing it with somebody. It helps you form that group or community, and you can identify together better when you're doing that. So another thing that Teepa was talking about here is when you're deciding what music to use, part of what you have to think about is the value that you want to get out of that session, right? So do you want to use music to help improve the person's memory banks, to pull information from their memory? Do you want to use it to start movement? Or do you want to use it to start a discussion? Those can all be fun things to do. So the way you can do that and to get ready for that experience is to compile a list of topics that will help you create that music experience. Now, I know we started in the video as talking about individuals, but as we've gone through the video, and you'll see in the next sections, we're going to talk about more how do you use this when you're doing a group activity.
So the idea is you go from what do I want people to access? Can I pull some of those songs up, have them ready? Can I ask the question, can we keep a list? And suddenly, again, a sense of community, but also people contributing. So we're going into memory banks, people are pulling out data, and then if we wanted, we could make a playlist. And then later in the day, we play the playlist, and then we could have, for instance, for the half hour before the meal, this is Lauren's favorite song about, or this is Lauren's song from the month of July. Nobody did, I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy. Just saying. You could have done that one. All right, so let me go back because I want to not just do this. I wanted to move on. So here's a question for you. What is it you can do? So what's your skill set? Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you at least move if you can't dance? Can you use a song to connect to another person? Can you use a song to express how you feel? Can you use a song to encourage people to gather together? Can you use a song to signal a transition or a change? So, how about, oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling. Now, what I did was pause right for the end of the line. And if you guys did not say Clementine, you sure were thinking it. You were also thinking, gosh, you can't carry a tune in a bucket. But that's okay, because that's not the point. What I was doing is using that song to transition. And then I got you to join me in the transition. So what we're going to do now is, and whatever it is, it doesn't matter because I got your attention, I got your participation. The other things can you use music to calm or to stimulate yourself or someone else? And can you use music to celebrate? Have you ever used music to celebrate? So when we want to sing songs, one of the important things for us to keep in mind is learning songs can be a challenge for people living with dementia. So who should be willing to learn the other person's song first? Yeah. So guess what, young people? You're going to get to learn somebody else's music and having fun with it and realizing. So this is where, for instance, I'll say, okay, so who knows the song Playmate? Anybody know Playmate? Okay, well, let me stop the share because Playmate is an interesting song. It's more of a girl song than a guy song. And it goes like this. And again, it's an old song. I'll sing the various verses of it first before we get started. Hey, 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 Playmate, come out and play with me and bring your dollies 3, climb up my apple tree, pull down my rain barrel, slide down my cellar door. and we'll be jolly friends forevermore. She couldn't come out and play. It was a sunny day. With tearful eyes, she breathed a sigh, and I could hear her say, I'm sorry, playmate. I cannot play with you. My dolly has the flu. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Ain't got no rain barrel, ain't got no cellar door, but we'll be jolly friends forevermore. So that's the song. Okay, now what you may or may not know is that back in the day, we would do a rhythm thing. And so it would go, hey, 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 playmate, come out and play with me, and bring your dollies three. My tree, call down my rain barrel, slide down my cellar, and you try to go as fast as you could, because you were trying to beat everybody else out and get really fast. But it was so you had a partner, and you would do it as a partner song, but you would sing it. And so it first came out as just a song, then it became a song that everybody sang, then it became a song that everybody sang and did a rhythm to, because girls are very big into that rhythmy thing. So what's kind of fun is to have people learn the song and the words, then learn the song, the words, and the rhythm, and then you can modify the rhythm depending on the skill of the people doing it. So I have had over, like 1,000 people in a conference room doing Playmate with each other. And what they don't realize is until you do it, is how it uses all your upper body in both music and movement. It's an aerobic workout. But it's also, because you're trying to do it with somebody else, it's really funny to be somebody, and you can't get it quite to work, and yet it's very funny. So people are laughing and playing with each other, and it's a touching song. So what it allows you to do is to work on touching another human being in play in a very safe way. And so all of a sudden, a childhood song becomes a connector, becomes a stress reliever, and gives people a real break in the action. Totally different than what they think they're going to do. And it takes people a little bit to get going. So you ramp it up, and then you ramp it back down. And then you talk about, okay, check your heart rate. And invariably, people are really bumped up. But you also ask, so you were here energy-wise because it was near the end of the day. Where are you now? And the energy will be turned all the way back up because they're feeling really good. And so that is an amazing, and it usually takes 3 minutes to take people from 0 to 60. And all of a sudden people have energy they didn't have before. So what's kind of nice about it, it's a nice energizer in a short window. So music can bring energy. When you use it, especially with something like drumming, or you can use, in this case, it was just a kid's song that I happen to be familiar with. So you want to know your gems, however, when you're going to use music. So we want to be clear, what can people still do? What are they going to be interested in? What's the environmental support and setup that I want to have when I'm using music? Which cues are going to work best for people? And how much and how long is a good match for who I'm working with? And how do I actually help people transition into music and out of music? Because one of the worst things we can do is leave people after Playmate and say, okay, we're all done. It's like, well, if you aren't going to use it, why did you build up all that energy? We want to make use of it so that when we're done using it, people are sliding back down into stillness. Otherwise, you get everybody revved like a Maserati, and then you walk off and everybody's ready to roll. And what it ends up doing is being an uncoordinated effort rather than something we're going to then use and move forward. And the last question on this list is, who can do well with whom? Because there are some people that you don't want to have in the mix, because when I do Playmate at that level, that's intense. So I have to know who I'm pairing with whom and how that's going to work for folks. So once we figure out our gem states, this is where we do, for most people on the call, sapphires and diamonds and emeralds and ambers and rubies and pearls. And I'll leave that up for just a second. When it comes to music, A lot of people, this is where we can cross boundary lines, but we've got to be careful about crossing boundary lines. So just looking at the gems for just a second, people who are fairly knowledgeable about the gems, do you want to share out about where some of the challenge will be if you mix up your gems into a musical activity? Where will come some challenges? What's going to be a challenge? Go ahead, Carolyn.
And so I think with diamonds, if we start to make adjustments to the songs when they're, we don't do them the way they've done them, they might get a little miffed. That is not the way I used to sing that song. That's not how it goes.
That is absolutely not how it goes. You are absolutely correct. So you can't change the rhythm. You can't, it has to be the song they remember. It's not a healthy, happy time. So what gem state do you think would be the worst to mix with the diamonds?
Maybe your ambers or rubies.
Why the ambers? Ambers more than rubies, for sure. And that's interesting because of all of them, the ambers are actually going to be the ones that the diamonds cannot tolerate when it comes to music in a lot of cases. And we should not mix them.
Right. Well, and I would think too, because we're with ambers, sensory.
Let's shut up. Let's sing can we sing the Playmate song?
Yep, just like that.
The Playmate song. Can we sing the Playmate song? I like the Playmate song. Can we sing it?
You want to sing the Playmate song?
Yeah, so the diamonds are going to say what?
No.
Oh God, do we have to do that?
We already sang it. Tell her we already sang it. This is stupid. I'm not singing it again. Oh my God, if we sing that one more time, that's all she ever wants to sing. Because as soon as we sing it, I have a good time. Mm-hmm. Yes, I want to have another good time. Can we have another good time? Let's have another good time. And what happens is the ambers will wear people out. They particularly are the most irritating to the diamonds because diamonds want to keep going with the activity, but they want the activity to go the way it's supposed to. And if we've already sang a song, why should we sing it again? We don't need to sing it again. They also want to sing the verses the way they're supposed to sing the verses and not the wrong words. And the ambers just want to sing that first verse over and over and over. And again, can we do it again? Let's do it again. And the diamonds literally cannot stand to be there. I mean, it's warfare. And so this is that place where although music is universal, these two groups have some very different needs when it comes to music. Emeralds and diamonds, yeah, you can usually put them together unless it's a game about, for instance, if I were to do a game where there's right and there's wrong. So I actually had to let go of some of the month things because if somebody gives me a season, is it okay or does it have to be a month? Well, if we're with diamonds, what does it have to be? A month. If we're with sapphires and emeralds, could it be a season? Yeah. Now, some diamonds are going to be okay, but we better know our diamonds because diamonds do not like it when you bend the rules if they're not a rule bender. And they're like, well, that's not a month, that's a season. And they won't only think it, of course, they won't be able to hold it in, so they'll say it. And they will also comment on, somebody already said that. And it's hard for them to tolerate. Of course, if they were the one that already said it and they've forgotten they've said it, well, that's totally different. I never said that. This is the first time. I don't think did anybody say that one? So it gets a little rough when we're doing more of the brain games related. And sometimes we do want to separate diamonds into their own groups so they can all shine and be wonderful and lovely. And they won't cut each other necessarily as much as they will the other gem states because it's so obvious that some of these people don't even know what they're doing. And yet sometimes they can be very pleasant if they have an assigned responsibility and they're helping to run the group versus they're in the group. So this is a place where diamonds can be, if they are that kind of person, they enjoy helping, they can be there as a helper. They can't be there as a participant. And so it's our obligation to make sure they get that they have a special job. And the special job is to push the buttons so that we can play the song. It's to write things up on the board so everybody can see them. It's to do this or to do that or to hand out the things or take this back. They've got to have a job, and the job has to be one that really clearly delineates this is a group for these other people. And the reason I'm here is to be helpful. So we have to be really careful about that when we set it up. And then we can mix the diamonds in for a while. However, it can't last very long because after a while, the ambers need for repetitions because once they like it, they want more of it. The diamonds can only handle so much of that before it becomes challenging. So what about the rubies? Where do they fit into this? Tell me a little bit about what you're thinking about rubies and other gem states.
I think rubies will want to stay if they like the song and can rock back and forth. But if they want to go, they're going to go.
Yeah.
And so trying to keep a ruby in a group, if they don't want to be there, is going to be impossible.
Yeah. So what also, Carolyn, so you're right. So keeping somebody there when they're done and they're ready to go. If we get them up and we get them moving, what's one of the things about rubies that's unique in some ways that we really need to be tuned into? Because if music makes them want to move.
Well, they've lost fine motor in their feet, so they're more likely to fall and their depth perception is way off.
Yeah, so if they get excited about dancing or moving, they'll want to do it. But the safety awareness for such is, so we have to have our helpers positioned in such a way as they can move into a support position and get ready for that before the music starts. Because there will be no hesitation if, for instance, big band is a great example. If you put a big band music piece on and you have somebody who danced during that time and it gets going, they're going to be up and moving before you realize what's happened. And you will be like, oh, geez, she's getting up. Oh my gosh, no. And that panic can set in if you're too far away. So realizing music that has a rhythm to it will encourage rubies to get up and move sometimes when nothing else will, especially if they see somebody else swaying or moving, they'll get up and get going. They will have no idea of what's in front of them and what they might not be seeing on their way over. So that's actually a high risk, is if we have some mixed folks and they happen to be in a less available to get to you location. So good, yeah. So those are all things to keep in mind. The other thing about the ambers and the rubies frequently is, that's too loud, turn it down. Whereas the rubies may just leave and the ambers may, oh, shut up. But that isn't necessarily just dementia, it's hearing changes. So when we're doing this, we're keeping in mind of where we're positioning whom because of their hearing, as well as not just the dementia, because it makes it a bit challenging.
So hi guys, I'm back. We have next section here. We've been talking a lot about how music can bring energy into all of your interactions with somebody, but that there are two major considerations that we need to keep in mind when we're using music for energy. The first one is, do we want to use music to make a person quiet and calm, or do we want to stimulate and exercise? So again, one of the things we want to remember is that when we're using music, we want to start kind of slow and calm. We want to build it up in intensity, and then we want to bring the intensity back down so that the person has a chance to recoup after they've had this wonderful experience of music. So another couple things that we want to remember as care partners is that we need to learn the music of our people, right, that we're caring for or that we're working with. So the PowerPoint has a lot of ideas about where you can go to learn music. There's actually some lists of songs that you can learn as well. And then the last point that we wanted to talk about in this section is the fact that music works for every gem state and that you can enjoy it too. Okay, I'll be back in a little bit. Bye.
So let's see, I'm going to go through, we've talked about some of this stuff. I'm going to move here. So when we're thinking about music, even not being a music therapist, we want to think about the two major options that we're working on. If we're actively using music, are we going, is our goal to calm and quiet things, or is our goal to stimulate and excite and get energy up? So look at the two listings I've given you here and see if you, as you look at it, you can think of some songs that fit in one versus the other. Are there songs or music that you can think of from different genres? So you could think classical music, you could think country music, you could think folk music, you could think rock and roll, you can think anything that you can think of, whatever your genre, it doesn't matter. Just think of songs that are calm and quieting, and songs that are stimulating and exciting. So one that comes to mind is Country Roads, John Denver song, as opposed to Grandma's Feather Bed, which you have to be a John Denver aficionado to remember that song. But, you know, that one, you know, or, you know, the song for Annie, or, you know, I'll walk in the rain by your side. I'll cling to the warmth of your tiny hand. And that's Peter, Paul, and Mary, which is also tells you my genre age. But, you know, thinking of those songs, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the mall, which is more of an excitation. I've been working on the railroad. And then it actually transitions into different songs. Dinah, won't you blow, Dinah, won't you blow, Dinah, won't you blow your horn? So that one has lots of energy, lots of excitement, and it actually escalates as it goes on. What else do other folks have? Because this is that thinking place where you want to get together with somebody and think through some of these so you can have slow songs to start, build the energy up, and then you have to figure out how you're going to go back to calm and quiet before you finish. So it's a peak in the middle with a drop on the end. So what do people have? What does anybody else have here? When you think about these two major groupings. So think of any song genre and then low, high, low. That's what we want. Go ahead, Shelley.
Bolero, Ravel's Bolero.
Ah, okay, Bolero. And it actually has those. Good job. Yep, cool. What else have we got? Vivaldi's Seasons, I think, is one that most people are familiar with. The Overture of 1812, boom, boom. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's some pop.
And I was thinking John Philip Sousa marches are great to stimulate, to get you up, and then have something else to sing afterwards.
Yeah, so we want to, if we're going to do like 4th of July's coming up and you want to really have something that's patriotic, that goes right in the middle, because that John Philip Sousa will have a lot of energy. John Philip Sousa's marches are always high energy. So what do we do after them? Because if you leave people up there, you got all this high energy and nowhere to go. So bringing them back down after that. So we want to think of other songs. So what are some down energy songs after a march? Because march in the middle is, you know, that one, John Philip Sousa particularly. But what can you do after that to bring people down?
So believe it or not, the marching song that we used for my dad that totally put him to sleep was Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Ah,
yeah.
So yeah, Battle Hymn of the Republic or God Bless America. Those kind of songs, even though they have a lot of energy, the rhythm of them actually has that more of that rhythmic back and forth. So God bless America, land that I love. So you've got that rhythm as opposed to. So yeah, so that's one. And so what was yours, Carolyn? Say it again.
Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Battle Hymn of the Republic. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming. So again, that idea of taking that rhythm and smoothing it so it's not so staccato. and then slowing it down and deepening it up. So if you notice, one of the things that's different is not just the rhythm, it's what we do with the rhythm. So if we slow the speed, deepen the pitch, and quiet the themes, all of a sudden what can happen is mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is damping out the vintage where the grapes are restored. That's a very different up energy. But there's not a lot you can do with the John Philip Sousa March. I mean, it is just pretty much a high energy piece. So when we use other pieces around it, it can serve as a centerpiece, but then we want to come back down so that when we leave, we finish it off, we've got something that's a little more calmed down. So the other piece of the puzzle that we really want to wrap our heads around if we're going to be successful is knowing each resident. Who are their favorite artists? What are their favorite types of music? What are their favorite songs? What are meaningful songs to them? And as Lauren said, creating that playlist, the Spotify, that list we can go to. What's their history with music and dance and performance? Were they more of a watcher or a listener or a doer? Do they have any dislikes when it comes to music and songs and sound and any kind of musical instruments? Volume preferences, time of high action, times of relaxation, their background sounds and preferences, seating space preferences, and signals of enjoyment and distress. So that we're taking in their signals and we know, ooh, I think they're about done. Let's wind this up. Or I think, wow, they're really having a good time. Let's wind this down. Now, notice what I said. So listen to those two words. Ooh, they're starting to get distressed. Let's wind this up. Ooh, they're really having a good time. Let's plan to wind this down. So what have I said we're going to do in either case? What are we going to do? Rachel?
You're gonna wind it one way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other, it's time for this to be done. Because one of the things about music is we can get into the rhythm. And then as Corey said, your brain says, ooh, I want more, I want more. But in fact, it's time for your brain to take a rest. Because all of this thing that we've been doing and that we do with people, it uses a lot of chemistry. And so they're burning a lot of fuel. And we need to be very careful that we don't use up their reserves on this and they'll have nothing left. So we want to leave it on a high note and we want to gradually bring them down. Or if it's not going so well, we want to pause it because they may have already used up everything they had. And now we're getting into territory where they have nothing left. And this is no longer a pleasure. This is an irritant. And if I don't wind this up really quickly, and this has got to stop, it's going to leave them with this bad flavor, and it carries over this feeling of distress around music. And that's the last thing we want. So we want to figure out how to bring this to a close so they're ready to transition to something else rather than continuing, oh, she's having a great time. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. Well, what's happening is you're catching my eye, my attention, my brain, but I don't know when is enough. This is very similar to walking till I drop. And I don't want us to not notice that, because what happens is just like balloon volleyball, just like lots of things, people can look excited, but they could be using their very last store of glucose. And then they crash. And that crash isn't pretty because they can't come back from it. So we want to notice those signals and know what a length of time that's a good length of time for that person is. And although we may run the group longer, the person may come in a little later and they may leave a little earlier, or we have a strategy for managing each individual, although we may be doing a group. And some of the possible activities, I'm just going to give you this to look at for a second, and then I'm going to have Corey share a couple of videos to see if you can figure out how I use the music in those particular scenes. So I know there's a lot of words, and I don't know if everybody has visual regard, so I'll go ahead and say them out. You can do a sing-along, a name that tune, clues to songs, crossword puzzle clues, theme song and sing-alongs or songs. It can prompt storytelling. You can go down memory lane. You can do group movement games. You can do songs or music to a radio or a TV. You can preset a program. You can identify instruments from songs. You can use it to help to rest, to help to wake up, to cue to go to the next activity. You can cue it for routines, so when the music plays, something starts to happen. So this is our last song before. This is our closing. And so Irene, good night, for many groups or something along that line. Fill in holes in the schedule, because when there is a wait time, this can actually fill in the space. We can offer thanks. So one of the things we can do with music is offer thanks. We can have parties, we can dance, we can play musical instruments. So those are some possible activities. So what I'm going to do is, actually, before we do this one, we're going to have Corey, I'll quit sharing, and I'll have Corey share, if you would, the beginning of accepting the challenge. And let's see if people can figure out how music's being used. And you're going to see a sequence, and there's 3 different uses of music in this one little sequence. So see if you can figure it out.
Skies are gray, you'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Okay, pause, Corey.
What else, Tina? You know.
Okay, so what was that? So what was the use of music in that one? Anybody you have to maybe know the backstory. What do you think the use of music was?
To get her from point A to point B, get her to move.
Bingo. She had been sitting in a chair, and they were telling us it takes 2 people to get her up, and be careful because she'll pinch you and she will fight. So instead, we went up, we found out she really liked music, and she would sing along with just about anything, although she wouldn't get up. So what we did is we went up and we did the "You Are My Sunshine," and then we invited her with a hand motion, and she got up because we stayed a little bit away from her, and then we moved in to support her. And once she was stable upright, Melanie took her, and they have sung "You Are My Sunshine" 3 times going down the hallway so far. Now the problem for Melanie is she only knows the first verse. She doesn't know any other parts of "You Are My Sunshine." So she has now sung "You Are My Sunshine" 4 times, because 1 time was just to get her up, and 3 times halfway down the hall. And we have a ways to go yet, because where we're actually heading is
The bathroom.
Yeah, because she's wet, because she'd been sitting a long time, and that's another place where they had lots of issues with her. So we were going to use music for something else, but just to get her down the hall. And Melanie's sort of bored with "You Are My Sunshine," and she figures Susie probably knows lots of other songs. So she decides that she's going to switch gears with Susie, because this went great. So let's try another song. So let's see what happens.
Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace has sweet saved one like mine. I once was lost, but now was blind. But now I
Stop. Okay. So much as you guys, most of you knew Amazing Grace, Melanie thought, oh, Amazing Grace, that's one she'll know, I'll bet you, because it said in her chart that she was Christian and she was Southern Baptist. Well, no, it didn't say she was Southern Baptist. Melanie's Southern Baptist. And so she thought Christian Southern Baptist, oh, I bet she'll know, because Melanie's background is Southern Baptist. So she thought, oh, Amazing Grace, that'll be a good one. So what happens to Susie during this song?
Well, she slowed down. The tempo of this song is a lot slower than the other one.
Okay, so she slowed down. What else?
She couldn't remember the words, so she needed to
All of a
stop.
sudden, the words start disappearing on her. She lost the words. Look at her eye gaze.
Yeah, not engaged at all.
Wow. We went from the lady who is turned to Melanie, they're dancing together, they're having a good time, and now we have a lady over against the wall who is not moving and has lost eye contact How's she look in that picture? Let's just double check here. Okay, so now, yeah, play it again. Just play it through. Just
How much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
pause. Who initiated the social contact there? She did. They were walking along. Susie paused the walking to turn toward Melanie and have an interaction with her. So now keep going, because this is where it all comes apart.
So Teepa, there is a little bit of audio with no video here.
I had forgotten that. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Yes, I
What
forgot.
else do you know? You know Amazing Grace.
You know Amazing Grace.
Amazing Grace has sweet saved one like mine. I once was lost, but now I see.
Pause.
Daisy.
So where do you think Susie went? Because Susie's a Ruby. So where do you think Susie went to? What if I told you she's Presbyterian? When do Presbyterians almost always play Amazing Grace, either with bagpipes? Oh, funerals. Uh-huh. Yeah. Presbyterians are well known for playing Amazing Grace at funerals. Always, always one of the songs played at a Presbyterian funeral, sometimes with bagpipes, sometimes with solos, sometimes with the whole choir, sometimes with an orchestra, but it doesn't matter. We always, at a Presbyterian funeral, you always have Amazing Grace, pretty much. So where do you think she went at age 86?
The last funeral she attended, or people that
Yeah. So she's sort of lost in a memory of a sad, lonely place. And so did Melanie mean to take her there? No, because at Melanie's church, they use Amazing Grace as the rededication song. So you come down to the altar to rededicate yourself. And right after you do the rededication, you go eat lunch in the fellowship hall. So in her mind, you know, Amazing Grace is that great song you sing right before you get to go eat with everybody. And it should be like an upbeat song. You're rededicating yourself and off we go. Some places use I am the clay, you are the potter, but not at Melanie's church. They use Amazing Grace. So what ended up happening is, this was an moment for Melanie, and Melanie has to recover. Now, what do you think she's going to do next time she goes down the hallway with Susie?
Not sing Amazing Grace.
Pretty much go sing You Are My Sunshine from the beginning of the hall to the end of the hall, because Susie was fine with Amazing Grace. What did Melanie demonstrate she was there for just a moment? What gem state did she slip into for just a moment? She was a little diamond like there. She was tired of singing You Are My Sunshine. She thought she'd switch gears. So Melanie is, however, an amazing sapphire. So watch how she, back it up just a tiny bit, Corey. Watch how cleverly she uses a visual cue, a verbal cue, and a touch cue to regenerate the energy that Susie had. So go ahead and kick it up, because we're still
You know Daisy? Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, dear. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It might reestablish marriage, I can't afford a carriage. But you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. You're flirting. Yeah, I can't help it.
So pause. So what happened? What were the cues Melanie gave? Let's start with that. What was the visual cue? She offered her hand right up where Susie's hand was. So she showed her hand right in that monocular field of vision. So she got it right up to that monocular. So if you see it, she's monocular, and she puts her hand out there and she says, "Do you know Daisy?" And Susie takes her hand, which is the touch cue, and then Melanie doesn't ask anymore. She goes, "Daisy." And what happens? Susie goes with her, because Susie had just gotten lost, and she got lost in a memory of sadness, and that was never Melanie's intent. So it takes that sapphire moment to bring it back. Now what I want you to watch as you watch it this time, focus on her mobility skills, and focus on her eye gaze, and focus on how quickly she hones in, and how Melanie is in charge of mobility. But watch what she does with her feet. Now, up to now, most of the time, she's had a 2-foot stance with a shuffle. I mean, yes, she's been dancing and swinging her arms, but she has not done single-foot stance. She is these little stumbly steps, which means she's really high risk for falling forward and not being able to catch herself. Watch what she does on this part.
Get it, Daisy. Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, dear. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It might be a stylish Mary.
What happened when she was singing? What happened suddenly? She found the cameraman. So the cameraman had panned around a little bit to see if he could get more of a frontal view. And as soon as she saw him, it was a young guy on the camera. She totally ignored the camera, but she was really looking at the guy. And she was, now watch her feet as she dances here.
I can't afford a carriage, but you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. You're flirting. Yeah, I can't help it.
So as a group, what actually happened at the end there? Did she understand what Melanie said to her?
Oh, absolutely.
Was she very in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
That music, so we took her from walking with music to sad and lonely and thinking about the past, back to Daisy, to finding a date, and suddenly being alive there and being able to do weight shifts to the side. She's doing a sidestep. She's sidestepping. So she's weight shifting with a sidestep while she's watching somebody. And then she doesn't even look at Melanie. Melanie says, "You're flirting, aren't you?" And Susie goes, "Yeah, I can't help it." And in that moment, boy, does the window open and you see this amazing lady who's still in there. And, you know, the really interesting part is within 6 months, she's gone. I mean, this is that moment where without music, we would never have seen this woman again. Because music was what mobilized her. Music is what helped her remember herself. Music was the part that offered her an opportunity to engage with people and to live basically until the end of her life. So this music thing is more than, it's not being a therapist. Melanie is not a music therapist any more than I am. But once we figure out how to use music, wow, what a powerful tool. It is a tool that helps us for sure find connections for people and give them the opportunity to just do things, amazing things. So let's go to the mouth care, Corey, if you could, because Susie now uses music herself in a way that I hadn't anticipated she would do it.
As I lay sleeping, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I hung my head and I cried.
Pause.
We're going to brush your teeth.
So what did I do? I used music to get there. I got her to the place, and then we're going to brush your teeth. So I got to the end of that verse, and that's the transition to the task. Does Susie need long transitions when we're going to do something? Because is she able to understand, those of you who've watched this section, does Susie understand much of anything that I say? Nope, have to use visual cues. But the music got her there. So we got her to this place, and she's with me. So we do her mouth care, and Corey just zipped through the mouth care. And then we get through with the mouth care, and she's drying her face off a little bit from the mouth care, which she hadn't done it for 2 weeks. It was hard work doing mouth care. So watch what she does with she's doing her face, and she does a transition like I did a transition. So listen to her transition.
Susie can't make those shifts on her own.
Jesus, for the little children, all the little children of the world.
We know she likes to sing. What I do is use this as a distractor to make it possible for us to continue on and finish this activity.
Now look in the mirror. What do you think?
Pause. Okay,
How your teeth feel?
Once again, I finished the song, and now I'm trying to get her back on track. So what do you think that song was about? And everybody has an opinion, and so do I. But let me ask you guys, what do you think? Why did she suddenly break into song and pick the song she picked?
One that gave her joy,
Joy, so you thinking joy.
Mm-hmm. Or good job, something that she sang with her parents.
Something for good job, Anybody else have a thought? So for me, I thought she picked it because this was really awful, and she's not really fond of me, but Jesus will protect her because he does little children all over the world, and this will work out. Jesus is always there. So, I'm not so sure she was thrilled with the activity, but she tolerated it. And then she sang a song, I think, for comforting herself. I think she needed a little self-comforting, and she was doing a little comforting of herself so she could go on. And then I say, well, how does it, well, she doesn't have a clue how it looks. That was me being stupid. That was me being not particularly bright. So look at this next little piece, because this is where it seems to me she's doing really well. And so I try to use a lot of language, and let's see how this goes for me.
How do your teeth feel?
Pretty good.
All right. I'll take pretty good.
Just loaded a little, but that's all right.
That's okay. Okay. You want to run a comb through your hair?
What?
Comb?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right.
Do you think Susie understands what I just asked her?
A comb?
A comb.
Does she know what a comb is?
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Watch what she does with it. She just brushed her teeth. She tries to brush her teeth with a comb.
Try. Here, let me hold it for you, and then.
All right, we can pause there. I just want you to see, people can get tricked then, because what happens is the music can give her language for a few minutes, and so we think she's capable of doing the language. That window only lasts for a few seconds because the wiring is shot. It's just that there are moments where language works. And so if we get all bent out of shape because it doesn't work, that's not helpful. What I did is I gave it a shot. She had it for a few minutes, and then it was gone. And because I switched gears on activities, Susie totally lost me. But we come out at the end with the same information we went in. So we have music again to exit out. When I'm feeling that I need a little more for spiritual support, sometimes people get really heavy-handed with lecture or with sermon. And if we're going to have people come in, I would really strongly encourage to bring people in who know how to use music and prayer and the book of Psalms. Because music, prayer, and the book of Psalms, or particular scripture that has a really deep foundation for people, if you're going to do those things with limited amounts of this sermon phenomena, unless you're mostly working with diamonds. And when you're working with diamonds, then the music and the sermon and the message better all linked together with what they're familiar with, or there's more risk that it won't go well than that it will. So using music creates, as a rule, fewer conflicts than does using somebody doing a sermon. and often has a better connection for many people. So let's take a listen for this gentleman, because he did the sermon and most people were drifting off, and then he did the music. So watch what happens when he uses the music.
Helping people with dementia maintain their spiritual integrity is an important part of our job as caregivers. Using hymns, familiar prayers, and rituals can help them maintain spirituality. It's important, however, to remember not everyone believes the same thing. We want to provide opportunities for different beliefs and different faiths.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
As caregivers, we must also be sensitive that not everyone has been active in a religion.
So guys, I'm just popping in here real fast to reiterate a few points here. We were talking about worship services. And if you want to create a worship service or a worship experience for somebody, instead of worrying so much about sermons and having the ritual of the service, you want to instead pull in those things like hymns, prayers, those familiar prayers that everybody knows, and psalms. They all work to help a person reconnect spiritually in a worship service or a worship type experience. Okay? I'll be back to wrap things up in just a minute.
So what do you notice about, this is Pearl, who is actually in a very late ruby, early pearl state. You saw Susie in this session. What do you notice about all of them during the prayer? Versus when they were singing. Everyone does the ritual they got it. This is a prayer, so people's eyes close and their heads go down, because that's what you do when you pray. And so this entire group of varied level people living with dementia, with all these different gem states, they're all together, but everybody's head is bowed. Because this is a group where everybody has the Christian faith, everybody has this background. And when they say the words, "Let us pray," it's like music. It's the same idea as music. So when we have music, we have ritual. Those two things can go together. And that's a powerful thing to help people. So the last thing I want to do, as we have just a few more minutes, there's many more things, and I've actually got some other things on here, is I want you to realize the power of how you can use a crossword puzzle. So this is sort of an example of one that I put together, and you're going to actually see me use it with a group. So if there's anybody who doesn't know what goes in the blanks, let me know as you read through it. If you're not sure, I can give you the rhythm that goes with it. My wild Irish
Rose.
There you go. Yellow rose of
Texas.
Let me call you
Sweetheart.
5 foot
2 eyes of blue.
Rock-a-bye baby in the
Treetop.
Okay, there you go. Oh, where has my
Little dog gone.
There you go. If you're da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If you're, there you go. When the red
Robin comes.
There you go. I know who gets to sing along the word there. That would be Shelley. Good job, Shelley. So what we then do is create a crossword. And then what we can do is have people help us fill in the crossword puzzle. And so what we end up with is a crossword puzzle. So what we have are people who are doing things that they can't normally, quote unquote, do. So let's take a look, if you would. Corey, go ahead and show this where we have it. And this is the one that's on the website, but just look at the skill set of everybody involved in the crossword puzzle.
And we're going to start, the first one we're going to do is right here. So I'm going to give the clue, they're going to guess, and then you're going to write. Okay, you got it? Okay. Here's our first clue. 1 across, 4 letters. Here's the clue. My wild Irish rose. All right. So the word we're looking for, rose. Help us spell it out. R. What comes next? R-O-S-E. Okay. Excellent. Now we're going to go down. Whoops. We're going to go down. It starts with an S, and it is 10 letters long. Okay, are you ready? Let me call you
Sweetheart.
Sweetheart. Okay, so we're doing sweetheart. So let's do. We have S. What comes next? W. Mm-hmm. And then next? E. I think sweet. Two E's, and then a T. Heart. H.
Okay, pause, Corey.
Is there E?
What I want you to know is the lady who's writing all those letters won't stand up for more than a minute, and then she screams that she's got to sit down, she's going to fall. Is that happening? Bring me my chair, bring me my chair. I'm falling. Any of that? Wonder why. What about the lady who's calling out all the letters? She's paranoid, and she doesn't like being with other people. Is that what's happening here? No. And the lady who you saw who isn't doing a whole lot but is rocking, she normally walks around the outside edge and walks around the outside edge and walks around the outside edge. Does she seem to be more engaged than walking around the outside edge? So by using this combination activity, I have all gem states here, but it does require that I know who's capable of what, and I'm using people in the right positions so that they can get some benefit. And then right after this, we start doing some exercise to music. So I'm going to pause here because I just want to do one last share, I think, here. I don't know that I'm sharing. I'm just going to show you the last couple slides that I have in the slide deck for you guys. Categories of music, because I think sometimes people get sort of stuck for categories. So here are some like categories, and then there's, for instance, more categories. So that, you know, if you get stuck, there's more. And then some examples of different songs, like for animal songs, what could you do with animal songs? And how to learn songs. And these are some resources that are out there online. So for instance, if you're looking for songs from the 20s, from the 30s, from the 40s, from the 50s, from the 60s, and it goes on up. But it's just a bunch of different ways that we can use music, because I think sometimes we get stuck. We think, ugh, I don't know what else to do. So I want to just go around and see if folks have you gotten anything that you feel like you can take away from here and make use of? Anything that would help you with anything you're doing?
I think for me, I mean, a big aha moment for me was when you were talking about how it's important to know the residents and the signs, because I think a lot of activity coordinators, they see people that look like they're having a good time and they, oh, well, I need to keep going. Yeah. I mean, that's a real big training opportunity.
It's really important, because if we keep going on something they love, but we go a bit too far, then what ends up happening, they don't want to come again. We leave them empty, and we need to be careful there's still a little bit in the bucket. So when we bring people down off that high, we want to make sure we haven't emptied the bucket out, because there's nothing worse than feeling empty. And then I'm lost. And then I want to find that thing I found. And I don't even know where it is and who it is. And now I can't find it again because I got the rush and now I'm empty. So really creating that rhythm. So nice job. Thanks, AJ. That's great. Anybody else have something they want to share with the group?
Yeah, for me, it was really using that music for transitions. You know, I really enjoyed and learned from the piece with Melanie, you know, and that's, definitely helpful.
Yeah, cool. So transitions, because we sometimes use it as a thing, but we've get the idea and then we forget. We sort of forget, oh, let's get them there and then let's transition to something else. And they can do it too. And that's kind of cool. So thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for being with us for an hour and a half. I know it was a little long. Hopefully we kept you engaged and your sapphire brains were able to take breaks when you needed them.
So folks, I'm back for my last time in this video series here of how to use music when you're not a musician or a music therapist. I hope you enjoyed the session. I want to remind you that we here at Positive Approach to Care are here for you. We want to help you help those who are living or experiencing brain change. Thanks so much for participating. And let us know how these work for you. Send us an email at info@teepasnow.com or post on our Facebook page, or just let people know if what we're providing for you is working. Okay? Thanks. I hope to see you in another session. Bye-bye.